Welcome to Coffee with Corissa, the long overdue episode. Basically, I'd been holding off because scheduling conflicts made it so I couldn't join up with the independent film company. I was going to film in their studio. It's all good. We're going to do stuff down the road. At the moment, I just got to film when I can. So I won't be able to be as on top of it as I was because work's busy and I have to settle a few things before I'm able to do that. Anyway, so as promised, I am going to tell about my surviving The Walking Dead events at the Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. Ended up having to go alone, so that comes into play. And there's this whole other story about how I accidentally ended up with I went to the Eyegore Awards that was happening the same night, and long story short, I sort of ended up in the same place as all the people getting the awards. I accidentally went in the wrong direction and ended up in the tent with them, so I just stayed.
This is cool. This is very, John, these are cool.
And I got to hear Slash play, which I'm pretty sure I was transported to another universe in which I was a much more cool version of myself, but basically, long story short, it was awesome. And I tried to leave where I was supposed to go, but everybody kept assuming that I was, like, somehow with the staff and whatever, so they're like, no, you go that way. And I ended up exiting out across the red carpet. So I figured, okay, maybe I do belong here. I'm just incredibly early to walking a red carpet, you know, like a couple years from now, maybe. Crossing fingers. So, The Walking Dead. I basically was like, I'm gonna go. I'm on my own. I have my go bag. I'm gonna survive this. Let's do this thing. You go through at the front of the line pass, because I was gonna go alone. I ended up just, you know what? I'm gonna not have to wait in line. Got on the tram, and they're all like, oh, you know what? This area is really infested with walkers. Yeah, we're not going to go here. We're going to have to make you get off the tram now. So you have to get off. And there's all these, like, Terminus bad guys there, and Faye, stay out of my shot. All the Terminus bad guys are there, and they're, like, riot gear, and they have these masks on, so you can't see their faces, right? Of course, that's more creepy, and they're holding chainsaws, and they're going to, like, attack you. And you first get there, and a bunch of other people have already gone in, so they're, like, trying to hack you up and everything. And I go running through there. And you know how Rick says, you know, safety in numbers? It's very true. Because when the Terminus bad guys and the walkers and such see a person, you know, walking on their own, and I, like, kind of dress the part, because you can't wear costumes when you do this. But I'm like, I'm going to wear my big, badass boots and my, you know, like, army rucksack bag that I had, like, my purse and jacket and crap in. So I'm, like, walking through there, and they're all like, dude. And they start swarming me, so I had to run. And I'm, like, spent half the night running because of this. And I won't explain the whole thing. Faye, here, go get that. She's dogs. So then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go on Jurassic Park in the dark, which was kind of awesome. And that's when I tried to upload a video to Instagram, but it wouldn't let me. So this guy comes up, cool guy I ended up hanging out with. He was a survivor as well. We joined forces. That's just what I'm gonna say, because I'm gonna stick with the whole Walking Dead thing. See? Yeah. We got to go through, and we went down to the mazes in the back lot, which I had forgotten that they had Terminus down there. So well, we're talking and whatever, and we end up going around the corner, and there's Terminus, and there's all these walkers coming at you, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was not prepared for that. And then he's all like, she's already bit, eat her, and I'm like, thanks a lot, Shane. So we start running through there, and there's people in the train cars, and I'm like, help, and I'm like, oh, great. FYI, don't eat the barbecue. So you run through there, and then you end up going into the prison, like you're coming in through, you know where Sasha and the group came in? Through the back, like that? Like, it's sort of like that. And you get in, you see the main cell block area. It's kind of like built smaller in scale, but it was cool, because you're like, oh yeah, and, you know, some burned bodies in the back on your way out, Carol. And, anyway, and you go out through the tunnel, you know, where, like, Glenn goes in because he's like, I'm gonna get to Maggie and everything. And there's the collapse and all that. And they had walkers, like, in the rubble. And I thought they were, like, fake, because whatever. Not all of them were fake. Because I was like, hey, look at that. And then all of a sudden it's like, rah, coming after me. I was like, no! So then we go running again, and when you come through towards the end, it's like, and skip 5 seconds if you don't want to know, but you go through the flapping, and it's just this little area where you think, okay, we're done. As soon as you go through there, a light turns on, and there's like 6 walkers right there. So I scream more than I expected I would, and just ran blindly out the end of the tunnel, because, yeah. My nerves were shot. I was like, no, we're done.
Have a great night tonight. Thanks to Universal Studios. Very, very excited. Awesome.
My survivor buddy, we end up going back up to the terror tram. And we, after going through other things, this was the last ride of the night. And there's about 7 of us on the tram. And I'm like, you know what? Again, with that safety in numbers thing, this isn't good. We need to, like, load up the car. But no, we're all just gonna hike to Terminus on our own, even though we know we're not supposed to go. But we get there, and all of the Terminus bad guys are there. But this time, they're standing there in a row, not moving, and they have their chainsaws down. And I'm like, okay, stop. Anyway, so as we're getting closer, and all of us are like, what's happening? Then one of them in the middle starts screaming. He's like, put your hands above your head and move into the screening area. And we all kind of jump, and we're like, okay. So, you know, we go with the flow. We raise our hands, and we get about 3 feet away from them. All the chainsaws turn on. They start coming after us, and everybody starts screaming and scatters. And, you know, about the same thing keeps happening throughout the thing. And my Shane friend keeps telling the walkers to go after me, so I have to keep running. And I'm like, I'm dying. I'm so tired. Why? But the funny part is when I get to the end, when I decide to be an actress about it, all these Terminus dudes are lined up again. And again, they're like blocking the exit. But by now, we've all scattered, and some of the people are already through, and so there's like this gap. And it's just me and my friend Benji. And we're like, okay. So I start getting closer, and I'm like, okay. I raise my hands, and I say, look, it doesn't have to be this way. We can work this out. We can live together in peace. Turns out it's a bad idea to attempt to engage the scare actors in an impromptu scene, because all of them swarmed me and proceeded to attempt to chop off my limbs while I went, no. And finally broke free from the murder circle and ran again. And finally got onto the tram, where I thought it was safe, except for there's like one more charred walker at the end, and you're just like, no! So I had to run again to get on the escalator. But yeah, so that was my night. I survived. There was a lot of running and screaming. At one point I asked, where's a crossbow and you need one? And I was informed that they were confiscated at the gate. I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense. That was my night. Thanks for, listening to the ramblings of a crazy person who just moved herself 2,000 miles away from everybody she knows, except for like 2 people. For those of you who lasted this long, I'm going to end with a dorky little poem that I wrote for Daryl Dixon, because why not? Okay, here we go. I wish I may, I wish I might. Avoid a hungry walker bite. But if I don't and come back dead, put a crossbow bolt through my head. Catch you next time.